Outposters. Welcome back to another Outpost Frequencies. And with me today, I have Dom and Ben. Say hello, gentlemen.
Hello, gentlemen.
Oh, welcome aboard, Ben.
It's been a while since you've been on here, Ben.
Well, when was the last one you did? I haven't been on here in 2 months. I think
way back in December, I think.
We've done
December
others.
28th.
We've done others.
I know.
You just don't want to be. You're just
every
antisocial and mostly cranky, as far as I can tell.
There's going to be an article on what Yoda just said.
So
let's go. So we've got things to talk about more or less.
That's right. It's been a while since we talked about anything. I did want to talk a little bit about Disney Plus, a little bit about the Gina Carano stuff, and I basically have just come to the conclusion that one, if you're working for a company and you're like an actor for this crap, then wait a minute, hold on, we got a little bit of an echo. Sorry about that. I will take care of those. Mute, except for the two that go on. Okay, that should be better. You probably shouldn't run your mouth if you want to stay employed. And two, the employers always go in one direction, and that really sucks.
Well, here's the thing. Everybody, I don't think anybody should even have Twitter. I mean,
it's a cesspool.
That's my whole opinion.
That.
I don't know why you want to do this. I mean, everybody that uses that thing regularly, that is a check mark, ends up looking like a fool.
Agreed.
I mean, every single person looks like a fool on there.
And it doesn't matter what side you're on.
Exactly.
I'm going to go ahead and agree with you. And I don't have Twitter. I don't use Twitter. The only one I have is an Instagram. And I use that mostly for there's no politics involved. But when it creeps in through there, you're like, okay, I agree with this, but it's through Twitter and you just look like a jackass.
Well, here's the stupid thing. I mean, even politicians, right? When they're not in power, they got to criticize the other guy. And then when they're in power, they do the exact same thing the guy that they were criticizing did 3 years ago that they criticized. They do the exact same thing.
Yep.
And then they look like complete fools, like what happened this week with that Syria stuff. I mean, not to derail this into anything political, but that's just an example. I mean, I'm just saying.
I'm going down the rabbit hole. No, don't drag me there.
Yep. Lady Gaga's against the police, and then her dogs get kidnapped, and then she's not against the police anymore. I mean, the whole thing is stupid. I mean, the Twitter is stupid. The whole thing is dumb. I mean, I'm just calling balls and strikes. I don't care what side of any spectrum you are on or what you believe. Everybody on there looks like a fool because almost everybody on there is a hypocrite in some way, and it always comes back and bites you.
I don't disagree with you, Ben. I think my only issue is that I wish that the damn companies would apply the rules evenly.
Well, here's the thing. I think that the rule,
but they're not going to, and that shouldn't.
That's just
if you're going to do that, it shouldn't stop you. But you have to understand that that's what's going to happen. And if you're fine with it, then I say unleash, do whatever you want. Who cares? I mean, you've got the right to it. But let me say something. I think it's right.
Let me say something about the way things used to be. I don't know who Rita Hayworth voted for in 1944. I don't know who, people back then, the old Hollywood system, everybody was just there to sell a product and be happy and make people feel good. And that's what, no one cared what they thought. Their opinions didn't matter about anything. I mean, they were just there.
Even when they were caught up in McCarthyism, it didn't tarnish the images of very many people.
Right. I mean, Chaplin, he went in exile, but eventually,
Humphrey Bogart survived, and he went out in support of several people who went up before the House Un-American Activities Committee. He was perfectly fine.
Yeah.
He's also right to do it, but...
Right, but But you understand my point. I mean, most of these people,
Yes,
they
it
were
was
in
tight-lipped
the
back
old
then.
system. Their opinions on anything didn't matter. No one cared what they thought. No one. It didn't make a difference. Their job was to look good on camera, say their lines, hit their marks, entertain people, and that's all anybody wanted. Now everybody wants to be important, and
I think
are they?
part of the problem is now globalization. When the United States market was the bread, was the money maker. That's the most important market to Hollywood. Hollywood did not do much to upset that market. Now it can make up all that everywhere else, so it doesn't matter. And it's basically everything they've ever thought, everything they've ever wanted to say, everything they've wanted to be, do, blah, blah, blah. It can be out there because you know what? We can say, oh, I don't like it. I'm not going to go to this movie, and I don't like this actor. I'm not going to see their things. I don't like this streaming platform, so I'm not going to buy it anymore. And look at Disney. You can have a backlash, and guess what? They're bigger now than they were before. So it doesn't matter. You can say in the end, when you are what they need for dollars, they will tailor what they're going to do and how they're going to act and how their employees are going to behave. When you aren't the money maker, when you're not the bread maker, they don't care. They're
Well,
fine without you.
right. They can, and you know what? I'm fine with that because I don't think
That's the way it is. Whatever.
I don't think I think 99% of entertainment product now is poor. I mean, it's not anything I'm interested in watching for the most part.
Seconded.
I mean, there. What am I? I mean, everybody's falling over themselves over this WandaVision, and it's about and Cobra Kai, and they're about the most okay things ever. I mean, they're not. There's nothing about either of those things to me that's like blowing my mind.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's
Right.
okay stuff. It's not anything that's changing the game.
Hey, I'm just
None
happy
of
to
it, I
watch
don't
something
think,
that
has any
isn't
staying
pissing
power.
me off. That's all I'm asking for. It's finally just not pissing me off. And thank God. I mean, that's where my threshold of pain is now, Ben. If it doesn't piss me off and I'm reasonably entertained, it's a masterpiece. I'm happy.
Well, that's
funniest
why
thing
you
was
watch everything that you have watched before and liked, because none of it's going to piss you off or upset you, and it's going to entertain you, especially things that you really liked. You're going to be entertained again and again and again and again and again. You just stick to the old stuff, stick to the classics, as they say. Stick to what you know.
yeah.
New
You know what I
stuff is
watched?
terrible. Ben is right.
I watched something I had never seen before. Uh, Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf? I watched that a couple weeks
Great.
ago.
It's on HBO
Have
Max,
you guys
isn't
seen
it?
that?
I keep meaning to watch it, and I just haven't gotten around to it. I'm going through HBO Max. And I want to watch a bunch of these classics that are on there because, it's just you should know your movie history better.
So,
Something that
Dom, have
before
you seen it?
1977.
Dom, have you seen that movie?
Yes, back when I was doing film school at Mesa Community College, we had to watch it. It was fantastic.
I thought, you know what I thought? I thought it was great, but after it's 2 hours and 10 minutes long, and I really loved it for about an hour. And I mean, it's good. I mean, but after, I mean, you're with it's Richard Burton and Elizabeth Taylor. I guess they're playing themselves, kind
They're
of.
basically, it's a
And
snapshot of their time together.
and then you got poor George Siegel and this weird woman that he's supposed to be married to. And they're all drunk and they're weird. You know what I didn't like about that movie at the end? I didn't like the ending of that movie. I thought the twist was terrible. Like the twist was like M. Night Shyamalan bad to me.
No spoilers
Uh,
for a
Like
for
the
a, for a
the
70-year-old movie.
reveal at the end. You know what I'm talking about?
mm-hmm.
All right. So anyway, like I didn't
Okay,
like that thing.
I'm
Huh?
willing to say you're probably right. I'll give you the yeah, but still,
I mean,
I think
as
everything
far
up
as an
until the
acting
end, it's
movie,
just
I
this
mean, it's about as good of an
drunken
acting
madness.
movie. But you know what? That's the kind of stuff I like. It's got 4 people in it. Everybody acts their ass off. It's basically a play, and you know what? It's good. It's just it was draining to watch. I'd say. You know what I mean? You're with these people, and you're like, God, this is another hour left of this. It's like these people are so obnoxious in this thing. But I mean, they're
Sounds like Do the Right Thing to me.
they're fantastic. I mean, they're lost in the role, right? I mean, they're like
Yeah.
you can't tell the actor from the performance. It's all blended together.
Do you watch 12 Angry Men and then just reach a point where like, would you just convict the guy so we can all go fucking home?
I love that movie, by the way. That is a
Don't
It's
they
a
do the
great
reverse? Isn't it 11 guys want to say guilty and one guy says no, and then
Yeah.
they all end up saying no?
Yeah.
Yeah.
One of them is
reach a
working out all his
consensus.
racist issues.
Uh-huh.
So
Still, though, it's better than just about anything else you get, at least these days.
But I mean, hey guys, we've got Tom and Jerry, the movie,
oh, thank God for that.
and we got.
Oh, that trailer is terrible. That's like, why are you doing this? The Sonic the Hedgehog people went, oh, there's backlash. We need to fix this. It looks like
And
the
they
Tom
did.
and Jerry people are like, you just don't know what you're talking about.
That Tom and Jerry movie looks.
I don't even know
That's a
which one's
paycheck movie if I ever saw one.
For who?
For whoever else is in it.
You're just like, I'm just glad I haven't worked in a year. I just need something.
That's exactly.
It looks
it.
like they filmed it last weekend, as a matter of fact.
What about? Yeah, I mean,
Are there other movies coming out? That's surprising.
so like HBO Max is just dumping everything. They don't even care.
Oh, no.
so
Well, no, I mean, that's better than sitting around waiting. You realize Hollywood is in a state where they're not going to let you do shit for as long as they can. So you might as well get whatever you can out of it and just we're going to streamers because we're fucked.
Well, the problem with that for the people like Nolan and Patty Jenkins, these people all took points. they took a lower salary because they all wanted points on these big blockbusters, points to make more money, and the points are based on theatrical release. So they don't get anything.
Yeah, they're fucked.
I mean, they got
they're screwed too. They're screwed more than the studios are. I mean, these studios are now in survival mode, and you can't blame them for it. And the artists and the craftsmen, you're right. You did a perfectly normal contract, and then the world decided to go whoop.
And then what else? What else with that?
I don't know why your video keeps changing sizes here. I can't.
Who?
Yours, Ben. It's probably because your internet is garbage, but
I've got Fios, man. I'm on fiber.
Whatever the reason, it just keeps bouncing back and forth. And
Probably
changing.
the snow.
So I make it bigger, then it goes way too big, so I make it smaller. It's a pain in the ass. So I'm just
I
leave in it and let it do whatever the hell
Tom
it
shows up
wants.
for a second, and then you disappear,
God damn
and
it.
like
There it goes.
I don't know what's going on.
I have no
Anyway.
idea. So
Does anybody care about this 007 movie that's never coming out?
I am
Not-
working
not
on
anymore.
my next 4, my journey through James Bond. I'm working through my next 4 of those. So I'm hoping to have that done in the next probably 2 to 3 weeks.
What are the 4? It's after Thunderball. It's You Only
So-
Live Twice.
So I'm
Honor
doing
Majesty's Secret Service.
yes, but I
Diamonds Are
also
You're getting
Forever
into
and
the
Live and Let
dark,
Die?
good area.
no, not quite. What I did was so the last one I did was Thunderball, right?
Yeah.
So the next one I decided to do was Never Say Never Again, because it's basically fucking Thunderball.
It is Thunderball, but
It
not
is
as good.
It's nowhere near as good. And then I go back to Live and Let or You Only Live Twice, and then I do Her Majesty's Secret Service, and then Diamonds Are Forever. And honestly, I mean, Never Say Never Again is not good. I'll spoil my video here, but I'll say Diamonds Are Forever is awful. And I really liked Her Majesty's Secret Service.
Oh,
I think it's a solid movie that, and I understand
is
why
ruined
people.
by a terrible.
No, I'm sorry, man. I just don't think it's as bad as you do.
Lazenby is horrid.
I disagree, but I agree. Let me explain. No,
yeah,
let
I'm
me
going to
sum
be
up.
Switzerland on this one. You're both right, and you're both wrong. Lazenby shouldn't have been James Bond, but having been James Bond, he's not a terrible James Bond. He's just not what you think of as a James Bond, and shouldn't have been a James Bond. But his James Bond wasn't that bad.
The thing is with Lazenby, what I've come to kind of think of is that I don't think he's a good James Bond. But I don't think Her Majesty's Secret Service is a very typical James Bond movie either. It's dark, it's different, it doesn't rely on gadgets and everything, and it's telling a love story that I'm not certain that Connery would have pulled off quite as well as Lazenby did. Now, I think that if you look at the other movies,
And Roger Moore couldn't have.
well, and Roger, yeah, that's the thing. I think they turned into. He would have. Look, they turned into this anyway, but I think his James Bond would have gotten a lot sillier, like Roger Moore's did, if he stayed as James Bond. I think it would have just been this. I guess it's a wash because it would have gone either way. Yeah.
Well, Diamonds Are
Would've been a
Forever is
backlash.
where that starts.
It definitely does start with Diamonds Are Forever, but it's really. I feel like that Lazenby, for that one moment, for that one movie, that really worked. For any other movie, I don't think Lazenby would have worked. So I'm kind of glad that he's a one-hit wonder, because I think that one hit is as good as it gets with him and would ever get with him. It's a very strong script. And I don't think James Connery could have pulled off the ending where he's crying over.
Who's James Connery?
Didn't that's the way I said, James Connery? I don't give a shit, dude. I'm drinking, man.
So
Here's to names.
I'm going to say something else I don't like about that movie. Okay, let me say what I do like about that movie. I think that the score is the best score of the series. I'll say that completely. That the music in that movie is the best music in the whole series. And what I don't like a lot of the art
You
direction.
can make a case for it.
I don't like a lot of the art direction in that movie. I don't like his pirate tuxedo shirt. That he
Okay,
wears.
that's awful.
I don't like.
I'll give you
I don't
that.
like-
Was that in the 70s?
It was 69, but I mean, I just feel like
there
it's
you go. Say no
really.
more. That's right.
There's a lot of purples. Like there's a lot of purples. in that
There was a
movie
lot
that
of
really stand
psychedelic.
out.
There was a lot of psychedelic bullshit in it. I agree.
But you know what? You know what's good in that movie? It's got the coolest car. I think the
The
car.
Thunderbird.
That's no. It's a
It was a
It was a
Ford.
Mercury
something.
Cougar. It was a Mercury
Oh, that's right.
Cougar,
You're
but-
right. It was a Cougar.
But the Aston Martin in that movie is the coolest Aston Martin.
The Aston
Everybody's
Martin.
all got a hard on for Goldfinger, but the Aston Martin in that
don't.
movie is really cool. It almost looks like a Mach 1 Mustang, but it's an Aston Martin, right? It's really cool looking.
Yeah.
The black car in that movie.
Right.
Um,
Right.
And then I think that Telly Savalas is the best Blofeld. I don't care.
Disagree.
Who do you like, Donald Pleasance?
Yeah, I like Pleasance.
I'll just say that, you know what? All I see is Dr. Evil, man.
See,
Oh,
all I
that's
see
not
with
that.
all I see with Telly
I don't know
Savalas
about
is
that.
"Who loves you, baby." I'm waiting for him
I
to
think
pull
he-
pull
I
a
think he
sucker
was a
out of his
good-
mouth.
Can we all agree that the worst one is the guy in Diamonds Are Forever, the dude from
Yeah, Charles
the
Gray.
dude from Rocky Horror Picture Show.
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
he was also in fucking Living or You Only Live Twice. What is wrong with them and their casting? I don't get it. Like, that just drives me nuts. The continuity. Fuck continuity is what Albert Broccoli's motto is. It's probably on his tombstone. Fuck continuity.
Well, Cubby Broccoli murdered the Three Stooges manager, allegedly.
Oh, you did tell that story.
I've heard that story.
Ted Healy. Ted Healy.
Why'd you tell it for the people that were?
So Ted Healy was the manager. He was like the fourth stooge. He was part of the act, but he was like the manager of the Three Stooges, right?
Right.
And he was at some bar in Hollywood, and Cubby Broccoli was basically like a mobster guy, and this Ted Healy guy was running his mouth. So when he left the place, Cubby Broccoli and these other dudes jumped him and beat him to death and just left him in the alley. I mean, allegedly, right? Like, I mean, there was no conviction. No one was arrested for this guy's murder, but that's who is believed to be the culprit.
I would not be
Isn't
surprised.
Doesn't something similar happen in The Player? I mean, it's not a producer, but Tim Robbins beats a writer to death in an alley in Hollywood. I'm not saying that that's probably based on whatever allegedly happened. I'm just saying that.
Isn't that just Tim Robbins? Doesn't he just do that kind of?
He probably does.
You know what, man? He needed to listen to the Swanky Modes. Tape heads. Both of the tape heads were Bernie Sanders supporters. I just want to point that out, that the tape
Connection?
The tape heads they like Bernie Sanders and they like the Swanky Modes.
Man,
So our bourgeois scum says Healy deserved it. He was robbing the Stooges blind.
Jesus Christ.
Also, I keep saying Lazenby. They're bitching at me to say it's Lazenby.
I've never pronounced it like that ever. You're correct. I don't care.
Thomas, you are under the mistaken assumption that any of us give a shit.
Who said that?
Well,
Thomas.
George Lazenby. Like,
Lazenby.
no, okay, Lazenby, fine.
Oh, you know what? You know what's the corniest scene in that movie? Hey, I'm pulling out all these trophies from the first 5 movies.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
Hey,
I don't disagree with you there. You know what that was?
It's a desperate attempt to connect them to everything.
Yeah,
I think
it's basically
like,
saying, no, he
might have
really
made a
is
mistake.
Bond. He is. He's really Bond.
Yeah, no.
He's the same guy, we swear.
They would have been better off
Why does he sound like an
just
Australian?
saying, you know what they should have done? James Bond is a code name like 007, and when you become 007, your name becomes James Bond, and that way you can just keep going with it, and it's like Doctor Who. It's like everybody's James Bond, and there's continuity, and it all makes sense. That's what they should have done, I think. And I don't know. I'm not. Let me just tell you that the only guy that could beat anybody up in a fist fight for real is Sean Connery. If anybody read my Lana Turner article,
You did.
you'll know
And
this.
by the way,
Oh, yeah.
Ben, I'm glad you brought that up because you did an article today about Lana Turner
I did.
and her relationship with
Johnny
Stompanato, the most mobster name in the history of mobster names. Now, give us a little background on Stompanato before we go anywhere.
So this guy was he was from like Illinois, and he was an Italian immigrant son, and he went into the Marines. His dad hated him or something, and he sent him into the military school. Then when he got out of that, he went into the Marines in World War II. He was stationed all over the Pacific. He married some woman in China. Then he came back with the woman. They had a baby, and then he just split. He was like, I'm out. Went to Hollywood.
He basically goes to Hollywood, right? And he
goes
jumps
to Hollywood.
around owning shops, and he becomes a bagman for
Mickey Cohen.
Mickey Cohen.
And
the rest.
And then, he was doing a lot of weird stuff, like he was a gigolo for old ladies, and he was extorting money out of these old ladies. Then he was also a gigolo for dudes, but for the dudes, he was blackmailing them.
That's called a pimp.
He was blackmailing.
But that is the part that is so crazy, that this legendary mobster Stompanato is also having relations with men. I mean, it was for blackmailing purposes or whatever. But it's like, wow. When I had read that in the article, I was like, you've got to be kidding me. How did he even maintain anything in a crime family, knowing that that's what's, I guess, the power of money.
It was weird, but I think I said in there that like the Chicago Syndicate was like in on it somehow. Like they were like
they've got to be making something
this
off
blackmail.
So he ends up meeting Lana Turner.
Yeah, he meets Lana Turner. Well, he starts stalking Lana Turner. Basically, he's sending her love letters. He's calling her on the phone 100 times a day. He's sending her jewels or whatever, expensive gifts. So finally, she's like, "I guess I'll go out with this dude." It was the 50s. Like, so she was messed up. If you read the article, you'll know about her fourth husband. That was a disaster. But, you know, she had this problem with this her fourth husband. Her daughter accused him of, like, sexual assault, basically. So she pulled a gun on the guy and told him to get out. So anyway, and then I put that in there as context to leave it open that maybe Turner committed the murder and not. I mean, it happened. I didn't make it up. I mean, but I put that in there as a subtlety to maybe have people think, well, maybe she didn't. Maybe the daughter didn't really do it. So anyway, so Sean Connery, so Lana Turner.
That Lana Turner did it, right? I mean, I don't want to jump forward, but you put it, you brought it up right then and there. Everybody believes that what happened was by Lana Turner's hand, and when we get there, you can explain what happened. So Sean Connery enters the picture, and this is
right. So Lana Turner goes to make this movie in London with Sean Connery, and I guess Johnny Stompanato gets jealous and says, "This guy is going to try to make the moves on my old lady." So he decides to fly from L.A. to England, and he shows up at the studio during filming, and he pulls a gun on Sean Connery. And Sean Connery proceeds to take the gun away from him and knock him out with one punch.
Sean Connery grew up in a rough part of Scotland, apparently, and was ready to fight.
He was like a black belt in judo and karate, and he was a bodybuilder and Mr. Universe and all this crazy stuff. I mean, before he was an actor, he was all these things, right? So he beats this guy up, and then Lana Turner calls Scotland Yard and says, "This dude's got an illegal gun," and then he got deported, right? And then she stayed with him. like after all this, she just goes back, "Hey, I guess I'll just go back with this guy." So she goes to the Oscars without him, and then he beats her up because she didn't take him to the Oscars. Then 8 days later, he's murdered at the house. You know,
there's a big fight, apparently, correct?
Right.
Between Lana Turner breaks the relationship off.
My favorite part of this story is they went and bought kitchen knives for the new house that morning. This is really my favorite part of the whole story. Like, I love this part. So they go and they buy these kitchen knives at this hardware store in Beverly Hills. And, you know, they go home. You know, they moved into the house she moved into the house a few days before.
Well,
she buys these new kitchen knives. And they have this big fight about 10 hours later, and he's stabbed with one of the kitchen knives. And with a single stab wound, it hit like his liver and like three organs.
Hit an aorta. I mean, and it killed him on the spot, essentially.
Yeah, basically. I mean, he got stabbed once and he died. And so the story is that the daughter went upstairs. She heard the fight. She grabbed the knife and she went upstairs. And the guy opened the bedroom door after Lana Turner broke up with him. And he said, "I'm going to kill you," and all this stuff during all this fight. So the daughter went and got the knife. He opens the bedroom door and he walks into the knife. Basically, that's kind of like the way that it seemed to me. I mean, maybe
right.
But I mean, like, you know, I mean, he walked into it, or he wasn't aware it was there. And I think whoever it was stabbed him. But the story is, I mean, he was like sort of just like walked into it, you know, unaware.
Hey, these
And he
things
died,
happen, man.
like right there on the spot. So
And the LA police, the I think it's the chief of police.
Police
I
of,
think
like,
you said
Beverly Hills,
shows up. Yeah.
Yeah.
And is like that's what happened. Time to go. Everything is clear. Yeah, it was an accidental. It was justified. There's no need for anything, and we're moving on.
Well, the craziest thing. Imagine if something like this happened today. That would go on for years. It would be in the news for years. This thing happened on April 4th. I think it happened on April 4th. Like Martin, yeah, it was April 4th, 58. So it was 10 years to the day before Martin Luther King. So April 4th, 1958, they have the grand jury is like 7 days later, like a week later, and it's a justifiable homicide and it's over. I mean, that was the whole thing. It was a
Lana Turner
7-day
takes
turnaround.
the stand, collapses afterwards. The grand jury either buys it or believes, the defense, and that's it. But that's not all, apparently.
Right. So then the guy's wife that he deserted sues for wrongful death for $750,000. Wrongful death, right? And after that, that's going on for 4 years. And then she just took like 20,000. She wanted like 750,000. She just took 4 years later, and that was it. They just settled out of court, and that was it. But what I didn't do in the article was I didn't want to lead anybody. I just laid it out the way it was.
Yeah.
The story happened. I mean,
it's a weirdly
this happened, and this person said this
sort of thing.
But I don't say, well, I think Lana Turner did it, or there was this big cover up and the daughter did this. I wasn't dealing with the conspiracy theory. I reported it like it happened, like it was said to happen, and people can make up their own mind.
But what do you think?
I think
if you had to, if it was between, what do you honestly think, or would you just rather flip a coin? Whatever it lands on, you're like, nah, okay, that's good enough for me because it doesn't. We're really going to find out.
So what makes me think it was Turner that did the murder was the fact that she pulled a gun on that guy, on her fourth husband.
Right.
Like, the daughter isn't the instigator of violence, right? In that circumstance. Right. Turner's the instigator of violence. So, I mean, using that, and I put that in there because I thought it was good. I mean, I said this is a good detail as a lead.
Right.
Because I mean, it was
sex
like
appeal.
It was like right at the same time, like right before that. I said, "This is really good. I can put this in there," and then it also maybe infers that it was Turner that did it. But I don't. Right. I don't go out of my way to say, "Oh, I think it's Turner," or maybe Turner. I don't even say anything about Turner possibly doing it. I just report it the way it happened. The daughter confessed. Then Turner said that she wanted to confess. And the chief of police wouldn't let her, and then and then Turner testified 7 days later, about what happened, and the daughter got off. I mean, that's basically, the way I did it. But I don't want to, I try not to speculate on what may have happened or a conspiracy theory. I don't want to do that. I'd rather lay out the facts of things that happened and let people draw their own conclusions.
Right. Conspiracies, they're fun, and it's a great place to sort of play in and bounce ideas and all the rest of it, but it's a rabbit hole. You'll never get an answer. You'll never be satisfied. I agree. You just lay it out. Here's what happened. It's an A, B, and C event, and whatever you decide, you're not necessarily wrong, but right. I mean, really, who knows? And sometimes it's I think even in this case, it really doesn't even matter who did it. And if you're looking at it from a sort of story point of view, or even a kind of a movie point of view, do you really want to know who did it? If this was a movie, it was a whodunit, it was a film noir, do you really want to know who done it? I think the answer is no, because you're not happy with that. And I think in the case of Stompanato being killed,
I mean,
if you're
the guy
looking at it
deserved it.
story-wise, you don't want to know. He had it coming, and
Right,
that's all that matters.
You know, exactly. I mean, so I think I'm going to be doing more stories, more of this Hollywood true crime stuff.
Yeah.
I think you'll see more of that from me. You know, I'm really, you know, we're not really experts on what people like or what people want to read. I think we're getting better. I mean, some articles do better than others. I mean, I write a lot of articles about houses. I mean, every one of those house articles, pretty much, I mean, people love those things.
Yeah.
But I mean, how many house articles can I write? I mean,
well, how many houses are there?
There's a lot
man?
of houses in LA.
Come on, move to the Hamptons, all right? You'll find some shit there too.
I got a question for you though. What is it that compelled you to want to take Hollywood history and dive into that? Is it a love of Hollywood history, or is it a, you know, some of it's kind of interesting, not really all that necessarily interested in it, or is it just it's Hollywood's history is so rich and frankly so interesting that it's deserving of it, and I'm a big fan of it, and I want to go and tell those stories and bring that back? Or is it's just like it's filler, something to do?
I think that my stuff was always had a historical slant, and maybe even on a subconscious level, I don't even think this is true, but maybe on a subconscious level, I chose the name Run For It Marty as Back to the Future for like history. Right. And because I mean, I was writing a lot of stuff like Celluloid Sirens and stuff on comics, even in the beginning, like right when we started. I mean, that's most of the stuff I was writing was retro content.
Yeah.
You know, rolling nostalgic, all that stuff was everything I was always doing was retro content. So I had an idea. I said, you know, when I was in Hollywood, when I was in California, when I was in LA, I took this house tour. You know, one of those bus tours around the neighborhoods.
Oh, yeah, I've seen those.
So there was this bus tour that took me up. I didn't even remember the name of the street. It was Roxbury Drive, but at the time, I didn't remember the name of the street. But it was Jimmy Stewart lived next door to Lucille Ball, and Jack Benny lived next door to Lucille Ball on the other side. And Rosemary Clooney lived across the street, and George Clooney lived there. And there were all these people that lived on the street. And I said, you know what? That might be a pretty good article, because I was looking for something different. I said, you know, let me try to think of something different. On Facebook, a lot of the pictures that we did a lot of retro pictures of old Hollywood.
Right.
And those always got a good response. So somebody tried to do an article that's that way. Because what we're having is, on Facebook at least, we're having a lot of people never read anything, I think. People would like the pictures, but no one would ever read any of our we had this retro content thing going with the photographs. We didn't have the same retro content for the articles at all. So I said, well, maybe let me try one. And so I did this. I asked somebody if they wanted to write it, and they said, you write it instead. I don't want to write that. And it ended up being the biggest article. I mean, it was a smash hit, the biggest article we ever did. Really, I mean, there was one other one that was about as big, but this thing.
You're talking about Roxbury.
What was that?
You're talking about Roxbury.
Yeah, Ghost of Roxbury Drive.
Right.
Hollywood Ghost of Roxbury Drive. That thing, we got such a response. I mean, Yoda's looking at the traffic going, our traffic's like 100 times or something what it normally. I mean, it was like crazy. Like we had like 1,000 people at a time on there looking at this thing, which is unheard of for us. So I said, wow, we had people, I'm not kidding you. We had a biographer. There was a guy, Russ Columbo, that got killed in this house, supposedly. Russ Columbo's biographer emailed us and said he didn't really die in that house. He died in a house next door to Paramount Pictures. He was staying in that house, but he actually got killed in this other house. So we put a disclaimer about that in there and said this biographer, if you go to the article, you'll see that at the bottom it says,
I remember that.
This guy's biographer told us it actually happened in this house. We're not sure. And then this nice lady emailed me, and she lived on that street. And she said, hey, I lived on this street, and I know all these other people that you missed. I mean, we had something like 20 celebrities. Peter Falk, Agnes Moorehead, I mean, Ginger Rogers, Hedy Lamarr. We had all these names in this article, right? This lady's like, you missed a few. Why don't you give me a call and I'll tell you where their house was and who lived there and all this stuff. So I called her, and she was great. And I mean, the article got even bigger than it was. I mean, as far as content, I mean, I think that the interest had already hit its maximum capacity. But like I was telling you earlier, before we started the live stream, I mean, that article does a couple hundred, people still read that article every day.
Yeah, it's nice and it's definitely evergreen. It's kind of nice.
I mean, that article is like the gold standard of the evergreen content for our site. I mean, that article is the article that just keeps on going. But I'll say this. What we started to do is, it's a little inside baseball. We started to promote the old articles, because what would happen is you'd put up a new article and it would just end, and people would just close the site. They wouldn't look at anything around the site. So I said, why don't we start promoting the old articles and the new articles? So that way people, instead of reading one, maybe they read 4, and then maybe they read 8, and then they come back the next day. So, and it's had a big impact.
Well, let's thank our newcomer Sean for getting our SEO figured out. Because, and this is more inside baseball, but those of you who don't know, SEO is search engine optimization. And we have this thing on the site, this plugin that tells us it'll change the light from red to orange to green, and you want a green light every time. That means you're putting in the right stuff into the article to make the keywords right, and it's the
hardest thing to do.
Yeah, it's more of an art form in a lot of ways. And he comes in and he just, like, every time he just nails a green light every time. So we said, okay, fine, you go through our old articles and you make them green, because we don't know what the fuck we're doing. And it's been great. It's definitely helped get some more traffic to the site, I think. And then I just kicked up the advertisement a little bit, but the probably the best thing that can help us is you, dear reader, sharing it out. If you have a Reddit account, please throw it out there. Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, any place you can share it out. If you like this video, please hit like, because that really helps. The YouTube channel is growing, and I appreciate that, but I'm using this as a chance to really just plug everything and do the housekeeping. But we do appreciate it, so hit the like button. And then also, if you guys have noticed that scrolling thing on the bottom there, you can go to Streamlabs and we can do super chats, and we will put it up there and let you know that you've super chat us, and we will really appreciate it, because we will definitely read those, even though I will read all of them or most of them at the end of this anyway. But we're getting there. So good work, Ben. I appreciate it. I think the Hollywood history stuff is good. The celluloid sirens is great too, even though it apparently pisses off Google Ads and tells us we're putting up porn or something. It's just so ridiculous. So let's. Do you have anything else you want to talk about there, or do you want to move on to the next topic?
Oh, I just wanted to say one thing.
Go for it.
The craziest thing for me with doing these articles, I'll go, you know what? This one's going to be a slam dunk. Like, because you say, okay, you know what? I did this one and it was really big. So let me do another one that's like this and it'll be really big. And I say, let me do another one that's like it, and this has got a really big audience. And it doesn't do as well as ones that
Yeah,
you were surprised about.
it drives you nuts,
It's,
doesn't it?
yeah, it's strange. Like, so I did 2 articles. I said these are going to be monster articles. I'll tell you what they are. I did them last week, I think. So I did the LA homes of the Doors, or the LA homes of the Doors. And I said this is going to do huge business because I'm going to share it to a bunch of groups on Facebook. It's going to 150,000 people. I mean, reaching just in Doors groups. And then Farrah Fawcett was like the Celluloid Sirens. Farrah Fawcett, that had a huge following. She's got a huge following on Facebook. Those are probably two of the lowest performing of the Celluloid Sirens and the Hollywood history articles that we've ever done, or at least that we've done in the last year. I mean, for sure. I mean, they just didn't perform as well as I would have expected. But like I said, I don't know what I'm doing, so whatever.
Well, I mean, don't feel bad. Like I'm trying to figure out the SEO and how YouTube works because, like, I got. Do you remember my one on 2010? One of my overlooked.
Yeah.
That one did. Oh, I mean, just kind of piddled around for the first. I did it in November because I did it right after the election. That was what the opening gag was just making fun of the election and trying to tie it in. And then in February, for no reason at all, YouTube starts promoting it for some reason on the SEO, and now it's got like 1,500 views in the last 3 weeks. Just where I have no idea why. I have no idea why this decided to change. I have no idea why it's killing it. I mean, the I Love Practical Effects video on Superman 1978, where I talk about how they did the thing where it was one camera movement and she just opens the door and there's Clark there after Superman flies off. It's a really nice moment. I did that back in March. And then in December, it decides to take off for no reason at all, and it continues to take off. And I'm getting all kinds of views. Now, you explain to me the voodoo of fucking SEO because I have no idea how any of this shit works. And
you know what I thought? I thought that as long as you got a green in that stuff you type in at the bottom, that was all you needed. I just wrote until it turned green.
That's my approach too. I've only done
and then
two
you
articles,
go look up, it's
just
orange.
fill it until it stops.
I'm telling you,
orange.
it's sorcery. It's
Make
fucking
the
sorcery.
red go away.
But I don't know. I mean, but anyway, the bottom line is for the Hollywood history stuff, it's really popular. It's got a huge following overall. I mean, it performs really good. And it's interesting. The tricky part is, this is the last thing I'll say on this, but the tricky part is trying to figure out what to do next. Right. So, I have to think, well, what would be interesting? I mean, in some of these stories, when I'm
certainly not this stream, huh?
The day before I'm gonna write, like Lana Turner. I didn't know all that stuff about Lana Turner 2 days ago. I mean, I started Googling stuff and said, "This looks like a pretty interesting thing." I can write something about this.
You'll just Google. You'll just find something through a Google search that tickles your interest, so to speak, and then
I'll read a bunch of stuff about it and write it up.
Has it made you a fan, though, in any way in particular with Hollywood history, or is it like you're just doing this because it's...
I like it. I mean, I like the articles.
What's going on, or are you like, wow, I mean, old Hollywood is really a fascinating time and place.
I like it. I like it for two reasons. I think that people... I like it because people like it, but right. I also like it myself. Like, I don't write anything that I don't like or that I'm not interested in reading. or interested in writing.
You can't. You can't write anything good if you're not interested in the subject. That's just not possible. Not
So,
anything compelling anyway. That's my English teachers.
I mean, it's harder to find. The more of these I do, the harder it is to find the next one. You know what I mean? Because I've written. What have I written? 30 of these? I mean, I've written a lot of them. You know, so I've got to find a scandal, or I've got to find some. You know, I was doing in areas of town, and then I said for these house articles, I said, well, maybe I should do people. So I did an Elvis one, and then I did Elizabeth Taylor. Both of those did really good. You know, and Clark Gable and Carol Lombard's the last one I did. But I mean, it's, you know, I got to find somebody that lived in a lot of houses and is a big star to do those. I mean, you know, or have a street where a lot of people were, or a house where a lot of people lived. So, I mean, there's a lot of research that goes into that kind of stuff.
I'll tell you one thing.
It's fascinating.
I'll tell you one thing that I like, Ben, that you do is your comic artist stuff.
Yeah.
Like various comic artists, and you'll kind of spotlight, because some of that stuff I've read, and there is, I have a very cursory knowledge of comic artists. You know, I know John Byrne pretty well, and I know a couple of others, but you know, overall, I'm not that up on various comic artists, and so like like when you brought it up, I recognized their art, and I was like, oh, is that this guy? Then you showed me some different stuff from books I hadn't read. I find that kind of stuff fascinating, but that's just me.
I like writing those too. See, the problem with the comic stuff for me is I just have to be in the mood. It has to strike me. Like, I can't just say, all right, I'm going to write a comic book one today. You know, I have to think about it and say, you know what? I think that Tom Grummett is underappreciated. Somebody write an article about him.
No, I get
that just came to me, and I really like. And you know what? That article did really good. I mean, people really, really liked that article.
I did too. I love the Tom Grummett one, and believe me, I get it. And if you think it's hard to write an article about something you're not in the mood for, try making an entire fucking video.
Yeah, I mean, but like, I mean, that Tom Grummett thing. I mean, so some of these articles can take. I mean, people don't understand. I mean, some of them might take days.
Oh,
I mean, something like Roxbury Drive. I mean, so the trick I found, I mean, people are like, I'm not interested in this at all, but I mean, we're talking about it, so whatever. But the thing I would do is,
we're somehow maintaining our viewers, so don't worry too much.
I
don't know how, but
when I first started doing this, and for a long time, I would write and do the pictures at the same time. And the pictures, finding the pictures that are the right size, sizing them out, putting the right picture where you want it, all of that stuff, it takes longer than writing the article. I know it doesn't make any sense, but it takes doing that takes so long, because, you know, on some of those stuff like the house articles, you might not be able to find a picture of the house, or the pictures that you find aren't any good. And that's the hardest part. So you waste a lot of time finding those pictures sometimes. So I said, you know what? Let me write everything. So what I started to do was go, this takes way too long. Let me get done. Let me write all the words, and then I'll put in all the pictures. And I've been doing that for a while now. I don't know how long, you know, several months. And I think it works a lot better for me. I don't know what everybody else does on there. I mean, I don't talk to people, hey, what do you do? But I think to me that's better, because I mean, I feel like doing the pictures and at the same time as writing it, it just slows down the writing. And
right.
You know, some of these things can take days to write and research. I mean, so like these house articles I wrote, no one's ever written an article like that before. I mean, there's no article about you know, Elizabeth Taylor's houses. that has all the stuff that I had to put in there.
Yeah.
I mean, it didn't exist before I wrote it. I mean, there's stuff about Lana Turner and Johnny Stompanato. I mean, articles like that exist, and those are easier to write because there's a lot of content out there that I can read and parse through and figure out how to make into a narrative that I want to tell. But some of the stuff, I mean, no one's ever written an article like that before. I mean, you got to really find the research, and you got to really find the content. Cause I mean, some of the stuff like with the houses, you'll say Elizabeth Taylor houses, Beverly Hills or whatever, you type in that and you'll find 50 articles about this house went on sale and it belonged to Elizabeth Taylor, and not a single one will have the address in it. And you're going, I mean, this would be like the Today Show, from 5 years ago. I'm just saying Elizabeth Taylor, but I mean, it could be her, it could be anybody. The house went on sale and they did a story about it, but they didn't give you the address. And then you're scrambling going, how am I going to find this address? I mean, I'm good. And I'm not kidding you, I could spend an hour. I mean, eventually I'll find it, but I could spend an hour typing in different things trying to find the address to some house. Because, I mean, but after I've written the article, anybody that Googles that person and is looking for stuff about their houses, I've made it easy for them. It's just out there.
Yeah. Thank him, people. Get in there and thank him.
So let's talk about
J.J. Abrams. Is that what we wanted to talk about?
Oh my God!
I
If
really
we're gonna
don't.
do that, I'm getting a beer. Let's do that. I need a drink. I'll be right back.
You
because
go
I
right
got
ahead.
a
We
lot
can
of
talk
things
about
to say to
Titans.
you.
Well, let me read some chats while
Okay.
Dom is
right.
gone. This would be a good time to do that. They bitched about my echo earlier when I was able to fix that because you're my third source in there, and I added your audio as well as the audio coming, so it was doubling up. So everything's fine there. That was early on. Social media is poison, but it doesn't work both ways. Use your wallet. Don't give to companies who choose to piss on your money. Yeah, I mean, I canceled my Disney Plus subscription, but I'm already thinking about going back on it because, one, I use it to write those reviews on WandaVision, and I'll probably do the Falcon, the Winter Soldier. I did all the Mandalorian reviews, so it's kind of hard for me to just dump it, and it's a pain in the ass to do it with other means. So, I do want to support other people who are trying to make alternatives. I think I'm really kind of looking forward to what the Daily Wire puts out, because I really liked the what was it called? Run, Hide, Fight. I thought it was a pretty good movie. They didn't make it, but they ended up. It's kind of like what happened with Clerks, where they took it to Cannes Film Festival, and then the Weinsteins bought it, or Miramax bought it. I think that's what happened with this Run, Hide, Fight. So it wasn't really a Daily Wire project, but now they're bringing on Gina Carano. They're going to do other stuff, and I kind of like that positive idea of saying stop bitching about it, make new stuff, and compete. I appreciate that. So hopefully, something will come of that, and if nothing else, I just get more entertainment that I didn't have before.
That's how this site really happened, right? I mean,
it was to a certain extent.
People said, in a Cool News or wherever, everybody was harping on them. Everybody was bashing those guys. People were getting banned, and the guy said, "Go make your own site," right? So
we did.
So I mean,
which is doing quite well. Thank you very much to all our dear readers. We really appreciate it. But yeah, I agree. We tried to make something. I noticed that we were getting a little bit of pushback on complaining about things that are woke, and I'm trying to run a. It's hard to balance that line sometimes because you can't really
Right.
ignore it. You can't just say that it isn't happening and that it doesn't affect the things that you like or some of the properties that you like. But on the other hand, I don't want to be sitting here just bitching about wokeness all the time. I really don't. It's no fun.
Right. Well,
It's not. It's.
I mean,
I don't even think it's good clickbait anymore.
I mean, like I say, you know, my Titans review or anything that I don't like.
Yeah, which
When
is
I
most
write
things.
when I write something that I don't like, I mean, I'm not bashing it because it's woke or whatever. I mean, I've got legitimate
There's that
I've got
horrible
legitimate
W word.
I've got legitimate criticisms about or what I think are legitimate criticisms that I back up with the source material or whatever that I don't think it's good. I mean,
There is
everything. The problem is so much of the entertainment is bad now. You don't even need to take that. I mean, there's no purpose of even going into that tact. I mean, you can tear something apart. Like, I mean, Titans. I tore that thing apart, with no trouble because it's not a good show. I mean, it just doesn't. It's not a good show at all. So, I mean,
well.
it's
How
easy
much
for me
do you think, Ben? How much do you think that? I mean, certainly the general overall attitude when you're woke, so to speak, you have a view on life that is pretty antithetical to reality, in my opinion. So
Well,
when they make these shows that are put, with this lens, with these blinders, or this, whatever you want to call it, this prism that they put it through, it definitely does mess up the shows, even if it
absolutely.
necessarily isn't overt. And I can't
But
just sit there and pretend that it isn't there. But on
right.
the
Well,
other hand, it's like
I'm
I get so
not. I'm not
tired of
saying
it.
that. So I'm almost done with Titans season 2. Thank you everybody for your support of me torturing myself watching this horrible show. So
You
there's
do
a
it,
there,
so I
there,
don't have to.
let me tell you something in that show that's an example of woke, I guess, right? So Deathstroke, every Deathstroke in live action has not been a wasp, which is what Deathstroke really is. Slade Wilson is a white guy, so they've had him as an Asian actor. They've had him as an Italian guy, that Joe Manganiello guy. And on this Titans, he's
I think that's splitting hairs when you're talking about
all
Joe
right. So anyway,
Manganiello.
but he's a Hispanic guy on this Titans, just fine. I don't care. But then his wife is like on the show is biracial or something. I don't know what she is, but she's not white either, or I don't know what she is. So and then their kids are both played by Chinese actors. It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, that's.
So
I agree. That's the part where you like it.
so
It's like when they
I
make
mean, I don't-
Perry White black. It's like, dudes, you've got a thing in your head, and you go, okay, well, why are you're putting this in my head that doesn't need to be in my head? I would feel the same way if they made Black Panther white. I'd feel the exact
Right.
same
No,
way because
absolutely.
it's
So
like it's bizarre. It doesn't make sense.
No, I'm with you. So everything I criticize related to comic book material is fidelity to the source material. I mean, not everything. I mean, Wonder Woman 84 had problems like there's ancient artifacts at like a Zeller's jewelry store in the mall. Like there's all these ancient, like this priceless. There's all this priceless stuff in the back room of a Zales. It
But
didn't
that's
make any
the
sense.
80s, man.
But I mean, so I bashed WandaVision for fidelity to the source material, and that didn't have anything to do with anybody, anything as far as casting went, as far as a diversity or anything like that. I'll say this for Marvel. They, for the most part, I don't like most of their shows or movies. they're okay at best to me. But I'll say this: if they want to have a black character on there, they just use the black character from the comics. They don't take a white character and turn that character black. So
Yeah, for the most
they'll
part.
use the Falcon, and they'll use Black Panther, and they'll use Captain Marvel 2, which I guess is also Photon, which is the second name for Captain Marvel 2.
I guess she's Spectrum. I have no idea what the.
She was Photon, but
her
so
history
the
is a
original
mess.
Captain Marvel died. It was a guy. Then Captain Marvel 2 was that black woman,
Mm-hmm.
that Rambo, Monica Rambo, right?
Which is
And
fine.
then, but I mean, they have. Here's my thing: make a new character. If you want to have somebody on there that's a different race, make a new character that's that. You don't have to change the race of another character to do that. That's my opinion.
Basically, would you say that basically what you're doing is when you're getting all these new storytellers and all these new artists, you're like, oh, we're so glad to introduce such and such to tell this story of this character who's now been race swapped, and you've got somebody who's like, well, you're the same color, so you know what to do. You're basically almost handcuffing or holding back that creative talent from exploring anything because you've said you have character A, you have to do that. But because you're a little bit different, you can add whatever is going to go on there. Instead of saying, you have a unique vision, why don't you create something under our label and then explore that? And then just go out into the wilderness. Because, sorry, comic book movies are generic and formulaic. Right. And you could sign James Cameron to make a Marvel movie, and James Cameron's going to have to make the film that Marvel has already decided you're going to make. You're there to make it decent, but more importantly, you do what's been laid out. You're basically middle management. True. If you make a Marvel movie or even a DCU, even though it's more like a Rorschach test, but if you're doing a Marvel one, because they're the ones who figured it out. They've beat everybody at the game. They're the ones who figured it out. They took films. They're the Henry Ford of series making.
Yes.
They took everybody made series before. You have Star Wars, you have Star Trek, you've got, the entire Hollywood history of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. You've got Halloween horror films, whatever. They went and said, what we're going to do? We're going to make series of films, and it's going to be an assembly line. And they introduced the assembly line to the creative process. So now it's boom, 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 boom. This goes to you. This goes to you. This goes to you. This goes to you.
Yes.
And you've all got your point of view, and you've got your talents that you're really good at. You're strong at doing this, and you're weak at doing that. Didn't matter. You made a really great college film when you were a student. That's fantastic. Here's $150 million. Do what we tell you. You're gonna make money no matter what. It essentially.
I like the Marvel
films. Made this really great film on a no budget, and it made a bunch of money, and it's really creative and whatever else. And they said, "Oh, we want you to make one of our movies. Fantastic. Oh, by the way, here it is. Make sure it comes in on time, and if you're really special, you bring it in under budget, but don't you dare do anything unless we say so."
And I bet you that the second unit guys are doing all the action sequences. The same second unit guys every single time.
Yeah.
That's why they all look the same.
I mentioned this to Yoda, I think, the last time we did this. They give the schedule and the script to the director, and they say, don't do anything until the special effects people say they can do it. And that's it.
Absolutely. But here's the thing with the Marvel movies. They have a reasonable story across the movies. You care about the characters. I will never compare them to Citizen Kane or Casablanca or anything like that. That's okay.
But I don't think that's the point.
Sometimes I like McDonald's. These movies are rewatchable. They're fun, and sometimes I just want to have some fun, and that's that's all I'm asking for out of them. And for the most part, they've built stories within this Marvel Cinematic Universe that are, their own version of Marvel Comics, which nobody's really done before. They're bringing in all these different, and somebody said, well, they're not perfect to the source material. I don't care as long as it's reasonably done well, and it generally is reasonably done well.
They're
as opposed to DCEU,
made. There's no doubting
which
that.
is.
I mean, they get enough right. I say that they get enough right that they're not pissing people off. I mean, they do okay. They do a pretty good job.
Anybody off.
But I'll say, you know what? They're bland. They're the okayest movies ever. I mean, they're okay. There's nothing about them. I mean, with the exception of, I'd say the first Iron Man is a good movie. The very, very first one that they made.
Civil War was pretty good.
And I thought that the other one I think is good. I like Infinity War for the fact, because there's scenes I like in some of these movies. Like Infinity War, I like the Marvel team up scene.
Yeah.
At the beginning when it's like Spider-Man and Iron Man.
The fact that it isn't a complete clusterfuck.
They're fighting those guys in the city. That's like a Marvel team up comic come to life. It's great. I like the scenes with Mysterio where Spider-Man's fighting Mysterio. Those scenes are great. I mean, that's like a Romita comic come to life. I mean, I think that they get a lot of things right, but at the same time, I mean, the actual movies, to me,
it's an assembly.
It's all the same thing.
That's what Shia LaBeouf said about Steven Spielberg.
You're not wrong, but every time I go to McDonald's, it's the same fucking thing, and I'm happy with it. I mean, I'm sorry. There's times where it's just like I'm happy with these for what they are. They entertain me, and I'm happy.
I mean, the Marvel stuff and Cobra Kai. I mean, all that stuff is okay. I mean, it's okay stuff. I mean, it's not anything. To me, it's not anything like. People go on and on about how great this stuff is, and I'm just going, it's okay. I mean,
well, they go on about it.
Fine.
They go on about it being so great, Ben, because so much stuff is terrible.
What I think the best part is, though, Ben, about you saying that it's okay and it's fine and whatever. The best part is those it's okay and it's fine and whatever costs $250 million fucking dollars to do.
Fair.
You can build
point.
A warship which can do a lot more than fine and okay for the cost of one of these things that you forget in 15 fucking minutes.
I wonder if we could have cured COVID for
impression.
Could we have cured COVID for the price of Endgame? I'm just wondering.
For the price of a cup of coffee. Remember Sally's Brothers for the price of a cup of coffee?
I forgot about Endgame 15 minutes after seeing it. So you absolutely could cure COVID because I want to forget desperately.
I didn't. And the other thing, you know what? I don't want to sit through any end credits. I mean, I don't want to sit through 10 minutes of end credits to see 30 seconds of Howard the Duck. I don't care. I just don't care. Like people, like I said to my wife yesterday, I said, something I like HBO Max has problems where if you stop watching something and put it back on, it backs it up like a minute and a half to where you last were. So it's like, oh my God.
Yeah, it's bad.
Netflix doesn't do that. And
even Disney Plus doesn't do that.
Disney Plus doesn't do that, right? But you know what Disney Plus does that I can't stand? They've got 10 minutes of credits at the end of every show they put on there.
Oh, it's ridiculous.
And I go, you know what? I stop the show as soon as the show's over. And then it doesn't play me the next show. I got to go back, and then I got to go down to episodes.
It's not just the regular fucking credits. They got to go through, and here's the people who translated it into Nambia. And here's the people who translated it into Sri Lankan. And here's you. Shut up.
It
takes a village, man.
When the
it takes a fucking city.
Just put the next show on. I don't care about your 10 minutes of credits. I don't care about any of that stuff. I just don't. I'll tell you, the best movie for credits, I'm not even kidding, the best movie for end credits, and every time I watch the movie, I watch the end credits every single time, because they're great.
Naked Gun.
Kill Bill 2. Kill Bill 2. It's really one movie. I mean,
Right.
but Kill Bill 2, when that ends, they give you the whole movie again in the end credits, and it's got this music, and they show everybody's name, and here's Sonny Chiba, and it's in chronological order. And you know what? I watch that every single time because I love, I watch all of Kill Bill in one sitting. I watch the 1 and 2 back to back. It's a 4-hour thing for me. And then I watch the end credits because the end credits of that are great. And I like it. I don't know why, but I like the end credits of that movie. That's my favorite of the Tarantino stuff. That's my favorite one. I love that. I love it. It's great.
My favorite end credits are the Cannonball Run, because it's got all the bloopers in there, and you basically have Burt Reynolds just beating the shit out of Dom DeLuise, just abusing him like a beaten wife. It's just hilarious.
The other one that's funny is like comedies, like We're the Millers. Like the end credits of We're the Millers is great because it's got all the blooper stuff in there.
Yep.
And there were improv and stuff like crazy. And it's really fun. I mean, all the stuff that they didn't put in the movie, the alternate versions of lines and stuff, all of those lines in that are really good. I mean,
movies don't really do that anymore, do they? They have to be such polished products. You can't have that moment of sort of brevity, I think that's the term.
I mean, I think
where you get that really great, you remember this, you remember this scene.
I mean, I think that end credits, the comedies. I mean, what was the last comedy you saw that you said that was pretty good? Game Night, I think, is probably it for me. Game Night, We're the Millers. Like, I like both of those, but I couldn't tell you a comedy after those that I thought was
okay, I guess. I haven't seen a comedy in years that I feel like really I
need
to see again.
I mean, I don't think
that I don't think comedy anymore.
I don't think that Game Night, to me, I don't think Game Night was as good as We're the Millers, but that was probably the last one I thought was pretty good. But I don't, Pineapple Express was pretty good, but I mean,
that was 2007.
Well, they always say the Hangover films are really good. I don't remember enjoying them particularly much.
I've seen the first one.
I go all the way back to Beer Face.
Then you saw the second one.
No, I never did.
No, you did.
The first one was okay, but I don't. Oh,
because it was the first movie.
It was exactly the first one. To be honest with you, and I'm gonna take a very unpopular view here. I like the third one because the third one was basically. Well, they made him make a third one.
Take your word for it.
No, I if you look at it, it's like they made him make a third one, and he basically just shit on the first two and did whatever the fuck he wanted. I love the balls of it. It's so anti-Hangover movie.
I can get behind that.
I really can. It's dark. It's weird. It reminds me of Gremlins 2. That's what it reminds me of.
I think Gremlins 2 is a good movie.
Gremlins 2 is a great movie because it's basically Joe Dante didn't even want to make it. So he says, fine, this is what I'm going to make. It's a bizarre nightmare.
A lot of people think that movie's better than the first one.
I love that piss take. You're going to make me do it again? Watch this.
Watch this. He makes this bizarre movie.
You know what? At least it's not a remake of the same movie.
No.
At least it didn't shoot the same thing again.
And that's why it's pretty good. It is and it isn't. I mean, it basically is the same movie if you think about it. But it's like every moment is turned on its head. My favorite moment is when what's her name? The girlfriend, the actress, what's her name?
Phoebe Cates. Where she starts going on about, this is just like President's Day. You know what? And they just usher her off. Like, get the fuck out of here. It's just like a satire of the first
great.
Movie. And it's good. I mean, it's good for it.
That's what Kevin Smith tried to do with the Jay and Silent Bob Stop the Reboot or whatever it was called. That nobody saw and nobody cares about. It
Strikes
was
Back.
I saw it.
There you go. Well, but he made a sequel after Strikes Back. They did like Jane, Silent Bob Stop the reboot.
I haven't seen that yet. It's
Yeah,
on
I
Amazon
saw
Prime. I never
But
bothered.
it's effectively that. It's that sort of meta. Oh, we're just gonna rip into whatever it is. This whole idea is a comedy. It's a farce. We're just going to blow the whole thing up and make fun of ourselves, and it's like, watch what I do, and it falls horribly flat.
It does. I don't like the I tried to
I
watch it.
couldn't
I mean,
make
there were
it.
some
I couldn't make
moments
it.
that I kind of liked because as they went to the internet and the bitching and the moaning
Right.
of movies and stuff like that. But overall, it ain't good. It ain't
I never
good.
saw Clerks
Yeah,
3. There's a
it did-
Clerks 3, right? It exists?
Nope, not yet.
Oh, just the second one.
Oh.
I
Second
love
one's
Clerks
actually-
too.
It's okay. It's a fine movie. It's a perfectly fine movie, and I think the
I agree with
relationship
everything they
between
said about Lord of the
Dante
Rings and
and,
that thing.
and Randall is perfectly fine.
It's just 3 movies, nothing but fucking walking.
Even the trees walked.
Even the fucking trees walked in the movie. There's only one return, and it's of the Jedi. Okay.
But let's talk about J.J. Abrams.
Why?
Yeah,
Can we
we've
just
avoided
end
it
the show
long
instead?
enough. We've avoided it long enough. Okay.
I mean,
I only grabbed 1 beer. I didn't grab 7.
how good can it
J.J.
be?
Abrams is
It
go-
can't
okay.
be.
Let me set this up properly here. Okay, let me get. We
Son of
made a
bitch
story
hasn't
on
made a
this,
good film
didn't
since
we?
8.
We
Yeah.
wasted digital ink
Yeah.
on this bullshit, right? J.J. Abrams the Destroyer to slay another favorite.
I
That
want to
is
see
a
a movie called
fantastic
Abrams the
title, by
Destroyer.
the way. Stark. Okay, the day we've long feared has finally arrived. J.J. Abrams, the destroyer of cinematic worlds, he's like Galactus, is locked on and is ready to kill another well-loved part of our cinematic life. He got his cold hands of death on Superman. And what I understand, he's basically going to make. Is he going to make Superman black? Is that what
Nobody
I heard?
knows. Everybody thinks that.
It's
but nobody- I mean,
Ta-Nehisi
that's-
Coates, an American
Which doesn't
journalist
matter.
and hack and swindler who somehow has been able to write for the Atlantic and the Village Voice because he writes about things like white supremacy and more white supremacy, and everything is white supremacy. So I'm certain that this Superman will be something that everybody will want to fucking see.
Can I,
I
just
mean,
say that when
I don't understand.
J.J. Abrams, the Conqueror, is actually either a video game or a South Park episode, he shows up half naked with giant fucking glasses, and he destroys enemies with by tossing mystery boxes at everybody, and it just makes them explode into a giant what
Lens
the fuck?
flares.
Yeah, lens flares.
Lens
The WTF mushroom cloud.
lens flares and catatonia.
I mean,
Lens flares and mystery boxes.
Yeah.
you know what?
Sundays
I
on
like
HBO.
Alias. Alias was a good show. I liked it overall
I don't think I ever
at
watched
the
it.
time. And I mean,
I'm
I
a
like
big fan
Jennifer
of
Garner
Lost.
was half naked and like wearing wigs and stuff and killing guys. I mean, I liked it. It was fun.
That's always
And I
good.
thought Super 8 is actually a pretty good film for a Steven Spielberg film. I like
think
Super 8.
Super 8 is terrible.
Steven Spielberg
Oh,
made Super 8.
Look,
I
Well,
mean, Jar Jar Abrams.
yeah,
Jar
look,
Jar Abrams
JJ
made Super 8, a Steven Spielberg film.
do you want to make a
Watch
Spielberg
it. It's
film
Steven
about a
Spielberg
friendly
from the 70s,
alien?
80s, which is perfectly fine.
No,
Oh, I got no problem with it. You know what? It was a throwback before it became a hit you on the nose. Remember this bullshit,
but you can't
and it's perfectly fine.
you can't make E.T. into the thing. Okay, it's got to be one or the other.
You can't.
Is he the fucking thing or is he E.T.?
That's the '80s. You could do that. You
No,
could scare
not
the
even
shit
the
out of somebody,
'80s
and
was
it's
stupid
like,
enough
we're
to
just
do
fucking
that.
with you. It really didn't mean it. Nah,
But
we're gonna fight each other on.
You're out of your goddamn mind, Dom. You've been drinking too much light beer.
Well, that's what I had.
what else can we talk about? Because I don't know how
We could
much
just
longer
wrap
this is
it
going
up.
to go.
'Cause fuck it, I don't want to talk about J.J. Abrams going to ruin Star Wars.
I mean, what other stuff's going on?
Did you guys ever read Superman Flyby?
Can we have
Did you ever read
What?
that bullshit? Superman
What?
Flyby.
Oh, it's terrible.
It is.
Is that the what was the?
That was
what
the
that?
script that he came up with.
Wasn't that in
Oh.
like 05?
Something like that. Yeah, it was before. It was 04 or 05 because it was before that
Man of
criminal
Steel.
Bryan Singer got a hold of it and
Oh yeah.
Superman Returns?
What was it? Oh, didn't. Okay, so what was the weird thing about that one? What was in that one? Remind me. I'll remember.
Zod was Superman's angry cousin. Clark Kent wears custom-made lead-specked glasses to control his powers. He's a college senior, and he decides to switch his major to journalism after meeting fellow student Lois Lane at a frat party. Jonathan Kent has a heart attack induced by Superman's first appearance. Jor-El has already visited Earth to scout out potential families.
Oh yeah, like wasn't Jor-El the bad guy in that or something?
Well, Krypton was not destroyed, and Kal-El was
Oh yeah,
married in
yeah.
exile.
That's the one. Krypton was not destroyed. And Jor-El wanted to terraform Earth or something into a new Krypton, right? Like Jor-El was the bad guy in that.
Yeah,
I think.
but we got the Man of Steel,
'cause
which that
parents
was
just don't
basically the same
understand,
thing.
man.
The whole
I actually like Man of Steel, kind of.
the whole mess culminates in a global battle against
Alright,
Kryptonian ninjas called Baz-Al, Khan, and Alta with a giant robot war machines that include wrecking the pyramids at Giza and the cathedral at Notre Dame. So it ain't subtle.
This is basically a slightly reworked version. Well,
Independence Day.
Star Trek Loose Change is a slightly reworked version of everything you just said.
And ID4.
Yeah, but go back and watch Star Trek Loose Change, and it's essentially the same
What
thing.
is that?
Instead of it's the I don't know, Star Trek Wrath of Khan remake. Into Darkness, sorry.
Star
There you
Trek
go.
Loose
Into Darkness.
Change is
And
Star
instead
Trek-
of destroying the pyramids of Giza, it's the big pretty buildings in San Francisco and Starfleet and whatever the hell else.
Yeah.
But it sounds eerily similar to everything you get into Darkness.
I thought
You know
Star
what was the
Trek Loose
stupidest part
Change was the how Captain Kirk was behind 9/11. Is that wrong?
I don't know. Isn't that Into Darkness? Isn't that the one with the super weapon?
That
was
was the
talking
ship
on
crashing into San
Benedict
Francisco.
Cumberbatch, and then and they fly
Here's
the
what was
building.
stupid about that movie. I mean, there's a lot of
All
stuff
of
in
it.
that movie.
Just get cut to the chase. All of it.
Here was the
Right
dumbest
after the
stuff.
credits.
Here was the dumbest stuff in that movie. They had Khan. No one knew who the fuck Khan was, and he's like, "I'm Khan," and then there's like
I
this
was like,
big dramatic like fucking pause, right? And everybody's looking at each other like, "Who the fuck is this guy?"
Who
Like
the
he's
fuck is
announcing
that?
himself. Like it was the stupidest thing ever.
They didn't even
wish-
know who he was
I
in
wish
the
Kirk
original.
would've
They
gone,
had to
"Who the
look him
fuck
up
are
on the
you, bro?"
internet.
Yeah. And then the other thing that was dumb, they had this big like
The
he's
other
not
thing.
Khan. He's not like they for like 10 months he's not Khan, and then he was. It was so stupid.
It was as obvious as fucking day that that's what you were going to do. So we
was
exhausted
retarded.
J.J. Abrams and Superman.
Well, he ruined Star Wars. He ruined Star Trek. Now he's gonna ruin
Now it's
Superman.
Scoops' turn.
Yeah. Wait till he gets
Well,
to
here's
the
the-
MCU.
You know what? This is my tinfoil hat conspiracy sort of belief why
Ooh,
J.J. Abrams
let me
is
get
still
you full
now
screen.
getting
Go for
Superman.
it.
He did Force Awakens, which was a massive hit.
Yes.
Really didn't have anything to do with him, but you're credited with it anyway. And it was
He didn't
a
write it.
license to print money, and it did. Well, no, but it was J.J. Abrams made Star Wars. That's how it was framed.
Yeah.
The second one comes along, and it does what it do, which is alienate everybody, piss everybody else off, leaves $1 billion+ on the table. Disney's now scrambling, and they go, well, we're going to go give it back to J.J. Abrams. And J.J. Abrams is like, I'm going to come riding in triumphantly like, a Roman senator
Let me
who's
try to cobble
about to
together
save the
40
Republic.
scripts.
and he desperately creates a jumbled mess, apparently. But the movie is still kind of a hit, regardless of the fact that it leaves money on the table. But everybody looks at it as he was the one who saved it, because the Mandalorian comes along, and then everybody just sort of forgets, and it's like, oh no, we're back on our
train.
The course we had set out on. We were right back there. It was J.J. Abrams who got us back. Now Warner Brothers, who have a giant juicy shit sandwich on their hands, they're like, well, can you do something? He's like, I'm gonna come in and I'm gonna do it again, and that's why he's given the keys to another kingdom, because you sort of brought a success and then technically saved it from failure by letting it just sort of kind of fail, but everybody's like, whatever.
Do you think?
I'll say this:
anybody
they made a new Star Wars movie with Harrison Ford as Han Solo in it, and that's why that movie was a hit.
Do you think anybody sees him as saving Star Wars after Rise of Skywalker? Do you think anybody sees that?
Yes.
I disagree.
Because it's not. It's not what. Oh, what was the second one called? Last Jedi. Oh, thank God. It's not The Last Jedi. The third one, Rise of Skywalker, has camel horses and a cavalry charge of the Light Brigade on a Star Destroyer.
So
okay, that's
hard for me
saving Star Wars.
Is weird.
It doesn't matter. It made money. Well, I mean, it lost a lot of money, but it made money, and they used it, and it was framed as a course correction. Everything is back and fine again, and it just happened to dovetail right when Mandalorian off.
My favorite thing of Rise of Skywalker is they kill Chewbacca, and then 3 scenes later they decide he's still alive.
Fuck it. It's J.J. Abrams. None of it matters. Just consume it.
I really don't know which one is worse.
That's what you're going to get with Superman.
I'd actually say Rise of Skywalker is probably a worse movie.
Well, it depends on how you define it, you know? I really think it depends on how you define it, because The Rise of Skywalker is a complete fucking mess. Nothing makes sense. It is scene, and then more stuff happens, and then scene, and then shit happens, and it's just, we're going to do whatever the fuck we want, and it's just bonkers. It's completely asinine and insane. But
you
it's kind of
the failure of the second one of what it was supposed to be.
Well, the problem,
you have to shoehorn into it, and then you have to somehow figure out how to fucking end it, because you got to move on at some point.
It's a terribly
We're just throwing it all in. It's guacamole. It's
terribly written. It's terribly structured. It's not very well acted, quite frankly. It's everything a bad movie is, but it's not actively trying to piss you off. The Last Jedi is if from a technical standpoint, is a comprehensible, well-structured, put-together movie. It's a movie. It has a story. It has some arcs and everything. I disagree with every fucking thing that's in in Last Jedi. It's so The Last Jedi is a good. The Last Jedi is a technically competent, proficient movie that pisses me off. And Rise of Skywalker doesn't piss me off, but it's completely incomprehensible. I have no idea which one. I mean, I guess Last Jedi is worse because it actively tries to give this to the fans. But
we've just hit on an important point, folks. LMO exclusive. The Last Skywalker is the Michael Bay of Star Wars. It's just shit blasting at. It's the.
You mean Rise of Skywalker, not The Last Jedi?
Whatever, I don't care. They're all the same. Listen, the last one is just the Michael Bay movie of Star Wars. It's here you fucking go, you idiot. Eat your cheeseburger and shut the fuck up.
Except for the lack of product placement and underage upskirt shots.
All right, I suppose. But
which one had that?
It also
everything Michael Bay has ever made.
It lacks that really great cheesy patriotism.
I thought you were talking about a Star Wars movie. I'm like, which one?
No, that's what it was missing. If it's going to be a true Michael Bay movie, that's what you got to have, right? You got to have inappropriate shots of. I'm
thinking I only saw Rise of Skywalker once, and I don't really remember it.
You're like, wait, where's those?
I
other
remember
people?
that Lando was the dad of Finn, and then there were so many versions of that movie. It was like Lando was Finn's dad, Lando was this black chick's dad, and then in the movie, Lando ended up being nobody's dad.
I don't know if you
remember
guys
in The Rise of Skywalker when they're at that bar in Miami and it's a tracking shot under all the strippers' dresses and it comes up to Steve Buscemi who says he's about to die and he's borrowing a bunch of money from a land shark because they're going to take on the Empire.
You've short-circuited again, Don.
He said in Rise of Skywalker. Oh my
Short-circuited. You know, I don't know if either of you guys.
It's the Michael Bay of Star Wars, whichever one I'm talking about.
I don't know if either of you guys listened to my way too long discussion with my buddy Floyd on Star Wars. But it's really long. I grant you, but I made him watch all three of the sequel because he hadn't seen them yet, and I never had more pleasure in my life than watching his brain snap in half when they started light speed skipping at the very beginning of Rise of Skywalker. It broke him at that point. I watched a human being break in half. His psyche his brain was dripping out his nostrils. It was so sad and very funny for me.
Do you remember that Simpsons episode when was it Milhouse? Or whoever it was fell in love with Lisa, and he gave the card.
Oh, that was Ralph Wiggum.
Ralph, that's right. And
watch, you could pause it right when his heart
see the
breaks.
Moment when his heart broke.
That's what happened to my friend. His brain just snapped as soon as he was light speed skipping, and when whatever the fuck that was, but he just kept hitting the light speed lever. We already know in Star Wars that that's a bad idea. That Han Solo pretty much berated young Luke about, you could bounce too close to a star or hit a supernova,
right?
Right? And they're not just ending up in just blank areas of space, which would probably be more likely. They're ending up in like really close to buildings and planets. Fucking and the TIE fighters are following them because apparently TIE fighters can light speed skip, and I'm watching just his soul is dying. It's just crumbling and turning to dust.
Is this in the video? I'm gonna have to watch this.
It's not in the we talk about it in that audio because I fucked up all the video in that. But
I want to see the moment when somebody gives up.
Oh,
I mean,
it's like that's it. I'm done.
I remember about 5 minutes of that movie. I remember that the Death Star 2 was 90% intact after it exploded. I remember that
we saw it explode to atoms, but apparently atoms
you guys are making
reform into debris later on.
I remember Chewie dying kinda and then not dying.
He wasn't the only one. There was a lot of fake out deaths in that fucking movie.
C-3PO becomes I like that.
At least in Armageddon, they sucked the guy out of a space shuttle.
No. The best thing is that Anakin programmed a failsafe to prevent, and when he was 8, a failsafe to prevent
him from reading Sith,
from being able to read the Sith language.
Well, he bought all the parts off of eBay. So to be fair, because he bought the same, he built the same fucking droid that everybody buys off the shelf.
So he's like, C-3PO's like, I can't read the Sith language because,
reasons.
Because my programming won't allow it. And Anakin created C-3PO, so he had the foresight to do that.
Apparently. Okay, granted, he's about 60 years old at this point and could have had some extra programming thrown in there, but because he was under Bail Organa's, he was owned.
But they just put that stuff in there. They're like, hey, this is a good idea. Let's just make it so the C-3PO can't read this language.
Yeah. But then we'll hold up the knife
Superman.
That will point at the thing in the debris that's sitting in a fucking ocean with 70,000 foot waves that are constantly moving the thing around. Yeah, that's where the thing is. That's where the Sith holocron is. Go get it.
Han Solo's ghost.
Take a boat because we have things that fly over water, but take a boat.
Bourgeois Scum says Michael Bay Schlock is his spirit animal.
Yeah, he does, doesn't he? Gremlins 2 is insane. Bourgeois Scum, you are killing it here. You are chatting away. You have the constitution of a camel.
How do you see these comments? Where am I? Where do I go to see this?
You could go and watch the actual video.
Oh.
I see them because I am
cool
owning the stream. So, you know.
Okay. Do we have anything else to talk about, guys? Because I'm fading here.
You're fading? How much have you had to drink? Not enough, apparently.
Not enough.
Ben must be getting cold.
We glossed over that
shrinking.
Superman thing pretty easily, and
we ended up talking about Star Wars.
Fucking J.J. Abrams and his bullshit.
I let Bourgeois know that you are Run For It Marty because he did not know that. We've got to get some consistencies with our fucking screen names. It's a little sad. Let's see. There's so much here. I wrote a ton of articles. Oh no. I got North Star Yoga who liked my PCU video. Thank you. We don't want to talk. They don't want us to talk about woke garbage too much.
I don't think we did.
Yep. Bourgeois Scum is on his 7th dram. What's a dram? Is that Dramamine? Or is that some? I think it's some sort of drink.
Drambuie.
I thought he was on his 7th gram.
Drambuie, I bet you're right.
Like either cocaine or like grandmother.
7th gram.
I'm on my 7th gram.
It could be Dramamine.
He's now talking to the color purple.
And it's talking back.
It's talking back. That's the weird part.
No, Ben. TLJ is a disaster. Rise is just mediocre, but it was doomed because of TLJ. Yeah, that's probably true.
Who was that?
That's also Bourgeois. Bourgeois is the only one left actually typing. Everybody else is face down on their keyboard at this point.
So say we all.
Including some of the guests on here. So, and I don't blame them. So, well, it's been fun. We went an hour and 50 minutes, guys. So well done. Well done on all you guys.
It's good stamina.
Yep.
Yeah.
We're going to have to talk about having you lock in your stream resolution at 720 or 480p so you're
talking to me.
Yeah, so your video.
How do I do that?
There's some way in Skype that does it. There's settings. I don't know. What do you think? I know this shit. I'm just.
You're like, do this. If you tell me how to do it, I'll do it right now.
I have no idea, but we could talk about it later. But I apologize if you guys watch this later. It's kind of a mess because of that. Because the size of the videos kept changing. Yours didn't as much, Dom, but Ben, yours kind of just was all over the place. Somebody said it was cold because Ben keeps shrinking.
Is it?
He was in the
you think? Could it be this computer?
I don't know. I don't know. I don't know, and I will have to play around and start doing some Google searches. By the way, Ben, people are saying how much they do love your Hollywood articles. Bourgeois Scum is saying it. He says it's they're very good. They're a joy to read. They do like them, so keep them up because people do like them. So just some little positive feedback for you there, buddy.
Immortal Fish hates them.
Immortal Fish hates everything.
Immortal Fish said every one of our articles is this happened and then this happened and then this happened. That's how we write. What else would you write? I don't know.
Sometimes that's how things happen.
This is from the guy who starts out every one of his comments with, "Gosh," sarcastic comment. Gosh, more sarcastic comment. I'm very clever.
Share your truth.
A serving of whiskey is a dram of scotch. He must be somewhere else. He must be not in America because I don't think we talked
I,
about
I figured out
dreams.
he was in the UK yesterday
He's in the UK. Well, there you
because
go.
he said something to me that I don't remember what it was, but he spelled it not
Was
in
it
the American way, or
OUR?
he said something.
Scum, you must be. You may be calling yourself bourgeois scum, but you're actually way too classy for this stream for us filthy Americans who have no idea what the fuck you're talking about. Far too classy.
We'll see you on Chatterbait later.
That's right. Go to Dom's OnlyFans page. I beat you to it this time,
Damn it.
fucker.
It's down here, by the way. Click down below.
All right, guys.
All
Become a
right.
Praetorian Guard member.
All right, guys. Thank you very much for
Silence.
watching. We'll try to have these streams. Yeah, we should have them on a regular basis, but fuck you. We'll do them whenever we want, apparently. It'd be nice if you could schedule your nights around when we're doing them, but you never know when the fuck we're doing them. And we're not going to tell you until maybe a few hours in advance because we suck. So, but we'll continue to try. Thank you very much for watching. Again, go to lastmovieoutpost.com. That's where you get the latest movie news, entertainment, streaming reviews, movie reviews whenever movies fucking open up again. And you can go to at Last Movie Outpost on Instagram, at Movie Outpost on Twitter. I'm at Drunken Yoda 1. And of course, subscribe to this channel. And our Facebook is curated by Mr. Ben here. And it's at // Last Movie Outpost on Facebook. So thank you very much. Dom, Ben, thank you very much for being a part of this. And we will see you, all of you, next time.
Always a
no.
pleasure.
I've got an audio and video settings on here, and it says camera, and it says 408A062, whatever the hell that means. No. Let me try my other computer next time.
I'm going to go yell at my kids. I'll talk to you guys later.
All right, see ya.